Welcome to the Indie KidLit podcast. Join Marti Dumas and Elena Page on their quest to help children's and middle grade authors find the right audience and sell more books.
Welcome back to the Indie KidLit podcast. I'm Elena Page.
And I'm Marti Dumas, and today we're joined by Dr. Terance Shipman. We're really, really excited about this. Dr. Shipman is a 25-year veteran teacher with 11 years spent teaching kindergarten, which is just like the best. He has an incredible network of former students and their parents and coworkers called Team Shipman. Through that, he offers them continual encouragement, leadership, and mentorship to both the students and the other members of Team Shipman, but also they offer him a tremendous amount of support in return and are part of the success of his adorable picture book series, Mr. Shipman's Kindergarten Chronicles. So we are excited to have him here today to talk about his books and his journey as an author. Welcome, Terance.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate this opportunity.
Yeah. All right. I'm so excited to be able to chat with you. I love getting to talk to teachers always because to me, teachers are always cool people in general, especially people who've been in the profession for any extended period of time. But also, I know a ton of teachers who have spent so much time reading stories to kids that they end up getting stories stuck in their own heads. But I don't actually know that many teachers who've gone on to write books. So I'm super excited to hear about you and how you ended up being an author. Tell us a little bit about your author story.
Well, I've been carrying these stories around, I guess, for about the last 10 years, especially the kindergarten stories. I've been talking to a lot of former students and parents. And the conversations always came up about what was the best time of year. And they'll say Christmas, field day, and of course, the first day of school. Everybody remembers the first day of school.
Yeah.
And I kept saying, I need to put these stories down. And 2 years ago, I finally sat down. Actually, I was watching Oprah, of all things, on Super Sunday. And she had a guy on, the book was The Art of War, or The War of Art. And I've read the book, and the book tells you about how to beat resistance and how resistance pulls you constantly to stop you from what you want to do. And I sat down that summer and actually wrote 5 stories.
What? So is
Yes.
that Stephen Pressfield, The War of Art?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Very cool. All right. So you wrote 5 stories?
In one summer.
Wow.
And the first one I actually wrote was the first day of school. Then the December celebrations. But the publishing, we got a little mixed up because we wanted to release it, but I had to switch 3 illustrators. Well, we finally got to the 3rd illustrator, and so we switched and did December celebrations first, then the first day of school. But we have a few more sitting and waiting. They're coming.
So then, okay, so you say we, which is great. Tell us who we is.
We is my illustrator, Milan Rustic. I found him on Upwork, and he is fantastic. He lives in Serbia, and we've been communicating through email and text. We actually haven't FaceTime yet. We're going to do that soon. We've built a strong relationship, and I have a team of people working for me. I have an editor, Prudence Williams. My 3 sons have all worked on the book in some form or fashion. One does video, he produced the audio book, and another one helped put the format the book and upload it. So we're one big happy family working on this book, on all the books so far.
That's amazing. That's really cool. Okay, so the way that I stumbled across you was actually on Instagram. I feel like we've done a bunch of shows about Instagram. So if you haven't already gotten on the Instagram train, you might want to think about that. Maybe just go ahead and get your ticket, get on that train. But that was actually how I first became aware of your books. You were running, I don't know if it was actually Kickstarter or a Kickstarter style, one of
Kickstarter.
Okay, so you were running a Kickstarter campaign, and I was like, this dude is really working it because your posts were adorable. They were not of course, my cat and daughter are making tremendous sounds like over on the right, and I'm easily distracted, so I keep looking at them. But there were a ton of them. So like I had no idea. I have no like connection to you whatsoever, but like I feel like I do now because I've had your holiday book, and also like I like see your posts on Instagram all the time. So I feel like I know you, but like I don't actually know you, right? So you had enough posts that were adorable of like a bunch of different kinds, and also like seemed to have like had a pretty successful campaign. So can you tell us a little bit about like how you like decided to go into use that like Kickstarter as a part of your launch strategy, and like how it went for you?
For the first book, December Celebrations, I researched a lot on YouTube, and I saw how people were using Kickstarter to promote their book and it gets launched. And it helps you when you start. I wanted to start my own publishing company. I wanted to go indie, and to get the money, the startup money for it, I decided let's do a Kickstarter. We succeeded. We raised all our money, but it's a lot of work. And before you start, I had to tell everybody, make sure you have a built-in audience and build a reachable goal. Because I think the biggest problem I had was a lot of people didn't know about Kickstarter. So we really put on a great campaign. We was trying to educate people months in advance what was Kickstarter. We showed them different Kickstarter ads. We showed them my sons even made a video to show people how to go on and make to pledge. We covered every step by step to show you this is how Kickstarter works. But people was still hesitant because they didn't know what it was. If you said GoFundMe, people's like, all right, I'll do GoFundMe. I know what that is. No, Kickstarter is better. I'm trying to tell you, if you give some money, you get something back. You get a reward. But they were like, well, why can't I just give you some money? I'm trying to give you something back. You know? Hey, it's not, but it's really hard to break down what people already know and to get them comfortable to what you're doing. But if I want to try to Kickstarter again, but my team was like, for this book, we couldn't. The second book, the first day of school, took us 8 months to prepare. So they were like, look, we can't take on Kickstarter. But the next book, I think I'll be like, hey, I think we can do it, guys. Let's try it.
So you said a few things in there that I had questions about. One of which was like, okay, you need to have a built-in audience if you're gonna go that route. Did you have a built-in audience? Was it your like network of parents? Like, who was your built-in audience? Or is that like a lesson you learned on the back end?
No, actually, we tried to build it before it started. On Facebook, I had Terance Shipman page. I have the Real PTA page. Of course, just Terance Shipman. And Instagram, and LinkedIn, all these different networks where I try to build relationships with people. But honestly, I think it takes you almost 1.5 years or 2 years to cement an audience. And we also did podcasts, but that came later. I think just take your time and really try to build in an audience, because if not, it's really hard. You just can't go to Kickstarter and think people are going to find you.
And just about that building an audience, really fantastic advice. And I love that you've given really realistic timelines to it. You know, it is not an overnight thing, which is fabulous. That's true. Did you do that around a particular theme, or you as the person? Like, you know, what's, I suppose, the why? You know, like, why did people begin to follow you? Was it because of a message, or just because you're so optimistic? Like, what do you have to say about that?
I built around the education theme. The Real PTA was built around education, family fun, family values, because I didn't want it to be all about school. I want it to be a place where parents can go and learn something. Or if a person just want to go have fun, see something on Facebook that's just fun. So build those relationships as a way so you to get to know me and I get to know you. and we constantly we've grown a lot. I think when we first started, we had less than like 300 people. Now we up to about 3,000. And that's not including, and on Team Shipman, I have 400 people. And then on my regular Facebook page, I'm almost at my limit, about like 4,800 and something. I'm trying to hold it just in case I meet some new people.
That's amazing. So do you find that people are because you've been working at this for a little bit, do you find that people respond to you? Like, I certainly felt like I was connected to you through those social media things. Like, do you find that people are responding through your social media?
Yes, I have made a connection, and it really helps when you post inspirational things. Let them just see the different sides of you. You don't have to show your whole life, but let them see that you're a human being and that you care. And the inspiration part of me, I think that might affect people more than the school or education things. People just need uplifting, positive thoughts for the day. That helps out a lot. But the connection is there. They see, and I think I've set it up in such a way where people can see the process of me working towards making these books successful. And to be able to see actually these are based upon true stories, that has drawn people in too.
Absolutely. Okay. So I want to jump back also to another thing that you said a couple of minutes ago, when you were talking about, again, like sort of building your audience in there. And one of the things that you said in there was about how you guys really try to figure out how to meet people where they were at. You were like, we're trying to do this thing. We're trying to find, we're trying to get people to go to Kickstarter, but we know that people don't know Kickstarter. So we're going to like spend a lot of time educating people on Kickstarter, which I think is really smart. How did people respond to that? Like, you said that people were like still like a little bit like hesitant to go over to a platform that they weren't sure about. Did they kind of soften up after time? How did you end up meeting your funding goal if people were still a little bit hesitant? Do you see what I'm saying there?
I think originally, it's like 51 people that were pledgers. But it came down to the last week, and I needed a push. So we had a big donor that pushed us on over. So you got to make it. Failure wasn't an option. So we had one donor say, okay, we're going to just go ahead and push you over. It was still the campaign we put out was just fantastic. Like, everybody that pledged, we posted on all the social media. We put their name up and said, thanks for joining the team. I just don't know another way of doing it without time of building the audience. It's just hard. I guess when people just don't know about something, it's the hardest thing is to educate them and say, hey, Kickstarter really is a good thing. Yeah. Like we did Kickstarter and Thunderclap at the same time. And
I don't know what Thunderclap is, so I'm gonna have to Google.
Crowdsourcing.
Okay.
You have to get 100 people to agree to allow you to post something on their page, making an announcement saying, hey, we're going to release the book on this date. And that was hard, just to get 100 people to say, okay, I agree to let you do it. And then once you do it on a certain date, that message goes out to those 100 people, plus everybody who they're friends with. So it's like a big thunderclap. You probably can reach a couple of million people. I think I reached over 1 million people with mine. But
that's amazing.
I signed up, I think we signed up over 400 people. And from that 400, it spread out to 1 million.
Okay, that's extra cool. So now I have that on my list of things to like look into a little bit more. But I want to like highlight a little thing that you said on the end there. Like, I think that I would not have thought of that. So like, you had a person who was like, okay, I'm going to come in and like meet the gap here, like at the end of your Kickstarter campaign.
Right.
That's really cool. And that's not something that I would have thought of before, because I think that people do get encouraged when they see someone trying hard and when they see like people starting to join on, and that if you've been like really positive and uplifting the whole time, that they would be like, oh, we wouldn't like it's like the universe provides here. It's like, we don't want you to fail in this thing. Like, let's go ahead and lift this thing up and make it roll forward. So that's really cool. Does that person like still stay connected with you? Like the person who kind of tipped you over, does that person still stay connected with you and your writing work?
Yes, it's called a family member.
Aha, very nice. So wait, I've heard this before though.
Yes.
Someone was saying that if you don't have a donor who you're pretty sure can step in and do your entire, like almost your entire funding amount, that you probably shouldn't run a crowdsourcing campaign, because people are attracted to the like 70% plus funded mark or something like that. Like that's when people start donating. So then like you got to make sure that you can get to like 70+%. Is that like, was that your experience too, or?
No. I think you got to set a realistic goal.
Okay.
Ours might have been just a little high, but once we tallied everything in, that's the number we came up with. I think you, if anything, set a real low goal. And if you go over that goal, it's just extra. It's hard. You remember that only so many people on Kickstarter will see you or invest in you, but you got to bring in your own crowd and some kind of. But don't go by this. You're gonna get so many offers for people saying, "Hey, we can boost you. If you pay us this much, we can get these kind of people." Don't do that. Don't waste your money. But just again, if you try to build in your own audience. Now I know, I wish I have known, you know, Facebook, you can say exactly, you can do a boost, an ad, and you can say exactly who you want to go to. I wish I have known that before, because I could have put in crowdsourcing, Kickstarter, and it would have went straight to those people who always do those type of fundings. So just really give yourself time. We did it in 30 days. You could do it longer, but honestly, that's a lot of stress for 30 days, because you are watching it all day, every day. You are, and you constantly see it. When it doesn't move, you like, oh, can somebody please donate? It's hard.
Okay, so you didn't do it for the first day of school, right?
No, we didn't do it.
So then how did you fund that one?
I had some money from the first sales, and I used a lot of my personal money. First day of school, and plus over a span of 8 months, I was able to spread my budget out, so it wasn't so bad as good, because we were already started with a lot of things, and we knew how to publish a book a little bit faster. Even though it took longer, this first day of school is 72 pages. So it was a double the artwork. We had 2 book covers. So in 2 different printers, we had a lot going on with the first day of school. And we still working out little technical issues here and there. It's been a great ride.
Indie growing pains. Every mistake is a lesson learned.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so I wanted to ask some craft questions, but it looked like Elena was about to say a thing. Am I cutting you off?
Before you jump to craft, just so in terms of like so much work that you put in to building your team, which I love that, you know, that word. It's great, because it's like people felt that they were on board and they were part of the project. When the books like launched or released, did you find that then that was much easier, that people did buy or review, or, you know, any benefits from having put in so much work at the beginning part of the publishing process?
I think with we got off to great starts with both books. December celebrations, we haven't even reached the year anniversary yet. It was actually published on October 17th. So in less than a year, we put out 2 books. When it first came out, it skyrocketed that first month. And let me tell you the worst time to try to publish, show publicity for your book. It's Black Friday. Just forget it. Don't try to publicize your book. Just let the malls have it. I publicized, we put a lot of money into that weekend and no sales. I was like, what happened? Everybody goes out shopping. So if you can have a book signing somewhere, that would be great. But to actually try to have sales over the internet Black Friday weekend, don't do it. But Cyber Monday sales went back up. But for December celebrations, the sales were great. First day of school, we launched out. I mean, we were in 10 categories on Amazon. We hit number 1 in 5 categories. Then sales went down, but once school started, school starts different all over the country. So sales go up and down. The last month, they've been going up and down. So it's been that kind of ride. You just got to see how to target your audience.
Yeah. Okay, that's really cool that it translated into sales that were outside of the Kickstarter universe for you. And you can kind of see, because it has a lot of like really good reviews on it. The books do have a lot of really good reviews on that. Like super detailed ones. So then It's like, okay, people who like really really read this. So that for me, I feel like teachers have a huge advantage in a couple of things where children's books are concerned, but then also maybe some disadvantages too. But one of them is sort of having a built-in test audience. Can you tell us the process that you used to write your books, or hold on, not necessarily write them because you wrote them all in one summer, but like to get them into their final state? Like, did you use any of your former students? Did you talk to kids? Like, what was your process like?
I used some of my former students, but I also used a lot of teachers. They are your biggest critics. A lot of people that I work with, people that taught the lower grades, the primary grades, those are the ones who I really want to read the book, not the middle school teachers. But they loved it. And we had a few kids we tested the book out on. And actually, after the book came out, I teach, last year I taught 7th grade language arts. My entire 7th grade read the book and they love it. And it's because it's actually between we say kindergarten, 4th grade level for the December celebrations. So they understood it and they kept saying, hey, so when we gonna do this for our class? And I was like, oh, I don't know. You gonna go get a Christmas tree for us? No. I actually brought in a fake tree, but we didn't go to the tree. We didn't go to the tree farm.
Okay, they were like, wait a minute, we're getting gypped. The kindergartner's got a better deal. That's really great. So then I'm like interested in the process. So were you just kind of informal? Like, did you just go up to teachers, and we're like, hey, here's the paper manuscript. Did you wait until you sort of had a dummy version and try to get people's feedback on that? Like, how did you get feedback?
Well, we had several drafts. I think like the 2nd draft, I sent out to like my mentor, who used to be a kindergarten teacher. I thought she did it for 20 years. I sent it to her and her husband. I sent it to Miss Andrews, who's actually in the book. She was a kindergarten para. Now she's a 2nd grade teacher. She read it. So I tried to get it to people who I know could relate to kindergarten. So they went through it first. And once I got their input in, they really didn't change much because they saw me as a teacher. They say, this is good. Don't change it. So we took it, just shaped it up, made sure we got it together. I think before we sent to print on December celebrations, the copy started with me. It went to 4 other people. Then it ended up back with me. And so before I hit the final button, I looked over it one last time, and that was it. Our first day of school was much rougher. I think we submitted that thing 7 times. We kept finding errors. I was like, we looked over it and looked over it. And I'm gonna give you a secret. There's one mistake in it that nobody knows about but me. That's in the first day of school, and I'm keeping it top secret. I will never tell, but it's there. I
That's
just said,
really
that's
funny.
it. We're gonna publish this thing.
I feel like I find typos and errors in like big trad pub books all the time, but nobody makes a big deal out of them. When people find typos and errors in indie and small press books, they like die. They're like, oh my gosh. It's like, but you know, obviously we all want to be the best that we can be. And I just cut Elena off. Sorry, Elena, what were you saying?
That's good. I was going to say, it's like a challenge. You're selling books by making that challenge. I have a feeling that we all want to go buy it to see if we can find the mistake.
You have the trick is you have to read the first book, and then when you read the second one, yeah, you have to find them. That's all I'm gonna say.
Oh, that's excellent salesmanship there. Like, you know, buy not just one, but two books in order to figure out this error. Okay. So tell us a little bit about because you're like having a small press, right? Are you you're gonna put the rest of this series out, like, and then what are your plans for your small press, and how are you like saying like this is a small press versus you being like publishing yourself? Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Well, right now the plan is to publish, I think we have 14 books planned out, but it keeps growing. People keep giving me ideas. So the series will land, we have the first semester and the second semester, so we're going to separate into 7 at least. Again, we might grow, another idea might come. After this, the next series is supposed to be Dwayne actually supposed to talk to his little cousin about going to kindergarten. So that might be the next series. But
oh, that's adorable.
Our goal is to try to get out at least 2 books a year. That's the big goal. And so that'll keep us in business for a while, if we can get 2 books a year. And I've already have, I think, 2 artists who want to join Team Shipman Publishing. And maybe one might be coming out soon, maybe October, November. But we might hold off until March when the 3rd book in the series comes out.
Okay. And are you planning, is a part of your small presses plan to bring on other authors or just other illustrators?
Other authors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I guess eventually we'll try other illustrators. But for me, it's just I'm trying to stick with the one. I don't want to change the style. The whole purpose, when I first met him, I told him I've auditioned of probably, I think, 20 artists. But he was always like, one of the first one I looked at. And I told him and everyone else, the look that I'm looking for is the classic look, but I wanted to look kind of new, but not too new. And that's why we call this book the new classic, because it has that old-fashioned look, but it gives you that new, fresh vibe, and all those colors come at you. You just love it.
It does. It has like a real animation quality to it. Mm-hmm. The illustrations do. So yeah, I think you guys landed on a really good. I think you landed on a really good style there. How are kids receiving it, and how are teachers using it in their classrooms?
I've had several teachers told me they loved it. One teacher said, "Well, I had to." She cut it short. She said, I read the whole story, but I had to improvise because the first day of school is a long story. But I had a lot of other parents say, look, I just read this whole thing. My child loved it. I had a lot of adults who said they picked the book up and couldn't stop reading it. They said, I was just going to pick it, read a few pages, and the next thing I know, I read the whole book because it took them back to their childhood. The whole purpose is to make adults feel comfortable with it, where they're reminiscing about their adulthood or remember the first time they took their child to kindergarten. It just brings families together, teachers together. December celebrations it was fantastic last year. A lot of teachers said it helped teach all 3 of the major holidays during December. So it actually, the book won it didn't win an award. It was just rated #1 best interfaith book because it covered all 3 holidays. And it's hard to find a book that does that.
Yeah, that does it really well. I actually wondered if that was a part of your strategy in that, because the series idea, right? Like the Mr. Shipman's Kindergarten Chronicles is really adorable. You've got a ton of like side art that you use for things, you know, where it's like a cartoon you and like this, like all these adorable little cartoon kids that you've got, you know, whatever, all those things. But the December Celebrations book like is essentially like doing the function of a nonfiction book at the same time as it's sort of like in the storytelling thing. And a thing that we've noticed lately is that sometimes it's easier to market nonfiction books because it's really clear and easy the need that's being filled. So I wondered if that was actually a part of your strategy, or was it just happenstance to have this book that has like a very clear like audience / need being filled as like the first one that actually ended up hitting the shelves?
It was part of the strategy. I want to tell people, I guess, our story on how we actually celebrated the December holidays in my class. I've always, I think in the first book is a picture of my first year teaching, right, when I had hair and everything was black. I wanted people to see that this actually happened. Yes, some of it I had to make up, but I wanted you to be able to see. We took a field trip to the tree farm and cut down trees. I remember one year when my youngest son was born, it was 2000. It snowed on December 17th. And so we couldn't go back to school. And so a live Christmas tree was left in our class till January. So when we came back, the tree was brown, but all the gifts were still under the tree. And so we had Christmas in January. So all these events actually happen. And then if you look in the back of December Celebrations, you will see the actual ornaments that I made the kids. And those 3 students still have them after all these years. And they still put them on their trees every year.
That's so sweet and so real, right? Which is really cool. I think that part of what there's like a whole movement of trying to make sure that lots of different kinds of people are represented in children's books. And I think that one way that authors do a really good job of that is by putting some version of their real experiences, real things that are happening into stories. And then the more people who do that, then the more kids like get represented and get to see themselves in stories that are out there. Was that a part of your mission statement as well? Or are you mostly thinking about like having family friendly stories and education focused stories?
Well, I guess it goes back to, like I said, the beginning of my career. If you, in that picture, you can see that I taught all types of students. Even now, I should have had the globe in here. I have an actual globe that I have for the last 25 years. And I've circled all the different countries that I've taught students, the students are from. And I think it's over 20 plus countries that I have students from all over the world. And so it's just, I'm just telling a true story, and we're just rearranging it in story form. It wasn't really something that we made up. I had to change 1 or 2 characters. We changed some names, and when they see themselves in the book, they laugh. They're like, "Hey, you changed my color." I said, "Hey, we had to balance it out. It had to be a balance." But it is really based upon true stories. Everything that happened in both stories, and I can't wait for you to see the next one.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. But I'm sorry, Ellen, I keep cutting you off. It's like I can see your mouth moving after I hear the sound. It's definitely me though, and not you. You say your thing.
Give us a sneak peek of what the next one's about. You can't pike our curiosity. Leave us clues, just a few clues.
Okay, it happens in May. It has something to do with athletics. And everybody loved that day. They get to wear team shirts. It's a great day at school. The PE
So
teachers love it.
excited.
What's sort of almost coming through as a bit of the theme of your books, perhaps this is insightful, or perhaps you already know this. I'm guessing you already know it because you're very clever. But it's that word team again, you know. It's, you know, like there's a group of kids who all start school on the same day. They're a team, you know, like we all celebrate these particular holidays like a big worldly team, you know, like it's beautiful. And I can see how it would apply to across cultures, across countries, just humanity, really. So I think that's part of your success and what you're tapping, and why your inspirational messages probably fit in with that so beautifully. And I guess it's not really a question, but, you know, just sort of summarizing that for our listeners, because ultimately what each of us is doing as authors is trying to work out, you know, what are we really trying to do? Because we're not just writing books, are we? We've got some bigger sort of thing we're trying to create, and it might be helpful to articulate that. Did you have a moment where you actually really did say, oh my gosh, that's what I'm doing? I didn't realize that, or did you know from the very beginning?
I think I knew from the very beginning. Because we say Team Shipman so much throughout my years of teaching kindergarten, second grade, now even in middle school. I don't too much call them Team Shipman, but they say, hey, you have to include us. But I've just always said that it's not just me teaching a child. It's me, the parents, the grandparents. I had a paraprofessional for years. It really takes a team of people to educate a child. You can't do it by yourself. And it just stuck with me, and it always has. We even make Team Shipman shirts, which you'll see in the next book.
All right.
I'm giving away. The more I talk, I'm giving away the story.
No, I think it's good. I think it's good. So wait, tell us a little bit more about how Team Shipman has been a part of this journey for you. Like specific though.
Well, I think I started it my third year teaching. I always say teachers don't really know how to learn how to teach to your third year. Because those first 2 years, you are struggling.
That's totally fair.
Yeah. And by then, I kept thinking, what's bringing us together? And we did field day. And so field day kind of brought us together. And I said, well, in all the classes, we're dressing different shirts. And I didn't want to have shirts like everyone else. I wanted to make my own shirts. And I did. And we used the Superman symbol. And we put TS in the middle. And we became Team Shipman. And that was the start of it. So every year after that, we made a shield that was placed in every class. And I think now we went from 2 shields, and now we have our own crest. That's Team Shipman. And the illustrator of the book made a fabulous crest that represents Team Shipman. And I didn't see it. I wish I would have seen it so you can see it. It's wonderful.
That's awesome. And like, how are people helping to support you? Like, I'm sure that some of them joined your Kickstarter. Like, how are the relationships that you made helping to support getting your book out there in the public?
One of the greatest things happened was with the second book. I got on Messenger, and I asked probably over 100 people, say, hey, if you don't do nothing for me, just do this. Just post the cover on the book on the 19th, the day it's released. And it was just so many hits. The book spread all over. That's why I say we shot like a rocket that first day, because everyone was posting the cover of the book on their page, Facebook page. And that works fantastic. And what we did for the first book, every time somebody bought a book, I say, all I ask you to do is take a picture with the book. Take a picture and post it. And so we kept asking the question. I think I still do now. Every time somebody get the book and say, do you have yours yet? And so when somebody will hold the book up and they'll point towards it and say, do you have yours yet? And it's just fantastic. That's a great marketing skill I think people should really use.
Absolutely. That sounds great. So I just wrote it down if you can't, like my notebook. Okay. So what else? Like, so you have a third book that's coming out. And so then you've obviously learned lessons from the first book and from the second book. What lessons have you learned that you are planning to put into place, like to make changes or to maybe even ramp up something or like double down on something that you've already done before as you're launching your third book?
For the third book, we're making sure we're getting all the editorial things done up front. They'll work. Actually, we have the mock-up. It's done, but the words are on the mock-up. And my two main editors are looking over that now. Like, we are not moving until we make sure this thing is perfect. Get that before we even think about going to press. That part has to be done. And we have to space the pages out. One of the things we had to do with the second book, we actually had to add 3 pages to it. And luckily I had him do some posters before, and like the night before we submitted it, we had to use one of the posters and put it in, insert it into the book. So with this book, just make sure we give ourselves enough time to lay it out, look at it, hand it to about 3 or 4 people, let them look at it, check over it, see if there's any mistakes. And just give ourselves, I want to give myself about a 2-week window to just sit and just say, okay, it's ready. This time we gave ourselves about a 2-day window.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
Right
okay.
before we hit the button.
All right. So those seem like good words to live by, like giving yourself a nice bit of like cushion in there. What else do you have? Like what else are you going to do for the launch of your third book?
I think watch your budget, your marketing budget. And especially Facebook, you will spend money. You have to watch it. Watch your marketing budget, but try to narrow down your audience. Figure out who you need to market to, and do test run. Like on Facebook, you can do an ad even $1 a day. I have about 39 different market groups on Facebook. The one I just discovered is I have a large foreigner base, that following base, people in continental Africa, Europe, Philippines, it was somewhere else, Ireland. They love me. I don't know why. They're not buying books. I need to figure out how to get these people to buy books. But they are constantly reading my material. Every time I post something, it's like I get 1,000 hits just off a $1 ad push. But I don't know how to get them the book or the ebook. I constantly listen to YouTube, Joanna Penn, and I was listening to her last night. And she said that the main thing is for foreigners is to get them the ebook. So I need to find out how to get the ebook to these countries, because the print book will cost them more because it has to ship. Ebook, they just look at it on their phone. But I have a large base there. And in America, I'm narrowing it down to, I need to see what countries are giving me, what cities are giving me the most hits, and narrow it down even more to cities. So you have to watch numbers. Don't spend a whole lot. Like, don't put $20 over 3 days or $20 over a week. That's too much. You can do maybe $1 or $2 for 2 days and just watch it, and it would tell you how many clicks you got or who watched it, how many males, what age, or females, what age, and then you can start just play with it, and then write it down and say, okay, this is who my target audience needs to be.
Okay. So you're like using boosted posts on Facebook to figure out who's actually watching you. So wait, question. You know, I didn't ever ask you this question, and apparently I should have. How are you printing your books?
Oh, I have 2 distributors, which I just saw an update a few minutes ago. Create Space is going, I guess, to KDP now. Yeah. I hate that because but I knew something was happening because we're trying to release the audio book, and they've been taking a long time, and they said they're transferring the files over. So I knew this must be coming in the works. We use CreateSpace, which I guess will be KDP soon, and Ingram Sparks. I highly recommend you use both. I know Ingram Sparks, you do have to pay to upload your book, but it's worth it because they take you to a whole nother. They're the largest book distributions in the world, and you also can get hard copies. My 2 hard copy books look fantastic. You can't beat it, especially the second book. I mean, people look at it and they was like, "Wow." But we got real smart. The paperback is $20 and the hardback is $24.99. So which one are you going to buy?
Right.
$24.99.
Right, absolutely.
But, yeah.
So wait, I have a question. So if you're using CreateSpace and you're using Ingram Spark, then I'm wondering how come you're having trouble getting the print books to to people who are like in other like Amazon countries, but maybe that's like something for us to talk about offline. Do you have, because I have a print book, do you have ebooks also through Amazon, or how is that working for you?
I do. I have ebooks through Amazon and Ingram Sparks. And the technical issue we have now with the first book is fine because it comes up on the phone, it's perfect. The second book, that's where we're having the technical issues because I think they've never seen anything like my book that has so many color pages and so many words. They're having problems fitting it in, and we've been going back and forth, saying, "Hey, I need you to get this together." And we're kind of pressed again. We're on the clock because on September 2nd, I have 100 people. I did a giveaway on Goodreads. 100 of those ebooks are going out. So my technical people are pressed. I just got off the phone with them this evening and say, "Hey, are you working on that? Because, hey, this has to be corrected before September 2nd. Because we don't want 100 bad reviews. Because people will give you bad reviews off of, hey, it looks terrible on ebook. It's not
hilarious. I like hardly ever look at my reviews anymore, but like I looked this morning and I have like a few new ones, which is great. One of which was a 1-star, which is also great. I love 1-star reviews. They're amazing. The 1-star review said, "I never bought this book." What? Why do you leave a review? Okay. Awesome. Thanks. So yeah, people will leave you bad reviews for all kinds of things. Other things. So yeah, okay. So I wish that I had realized, because I didn't know that you would run one of the new Goodreads giveaways, because I don't have any experience with it. But my little watch thing is telling me that we're running out of time. So I'm going to ask Elena if she has, if I can ask about that one, or if you had a different thing that you needed to chime in with.
Ask.
Yay. Okay. So 2 things. One, is Ingram formatting your ebooks for you?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
Well,
I've never talked to anybody who's used Ingram to format their ebooks, so I would love to hear how that process went. And then Goodreads.
Okay, Ingram. Once you upload your the book for paperback or hard copy, it automatically formats it for you. So that was extremely easy, and I was like, I wish CreateSpace did that, which they did for the first book. So we don't know what happened with this. Well, we kind of do. It's just a larger book. But yes, it was extremely easy. And again, they take you on a whole nother market. So I would, again, highly recommend you use both. With Goodreads, it's 2 things I want to tell you. The giveaway now, I think it's $119. They used to be free, but they charge you $119, and you can give away up to 100 books. I love it because it's great exposure. I did a giveaway with December celebrations like a month ago. 184 people tried to win it. I'm doing one now with first day of school with a few days left. About 120 something people have done it. So I highly recommend it. But the other thing is to run an ad. You can run an ad. I did a $20 ad. It's been running forever, but 53,000 people have seen it. It's about as supposed, like you told me earlier, you've seen me so many times. It's making that relationship, people seeing your face, people seeing your product. Constantly, they just said the rumor is it takes 7 times for people to see something before they buy it. So I'm constantly trying to put out something either about me or the book, So I'm there for you.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with it. I definitely am a person who believes in personally, which doesn't mean that it's correct. It's just a thing I believe, that it's important for people to get an opportunity for you to see it several times. So then everything that you spend money on, I don't think necessarily needs to immediately yield the profit for you. But then I'm going to ask the tacky question, which is, have those yielded profit for you? Like, have you been able to see other things besides the exposure from, like, say, the Goodreads campaign? Like, have you gotten more reviews? Did you get an uptick in sales? Like, have you seen other things beyond the exposure piece?
Yes and no. Goodreads, I got a few reviews. Some of them wasn't good because of a technical issue. When you read them, you say, well, it has something to do with technical. One lady said her child didn't understand. It was December celebration. Her child didn't understand the transition between Dwayne and Benicia talking and Benicia telling the story in her time zone. And we both were like, I think the book kind of separates it clearly who's speaking and what it shows. But we said, okay, that's your child. I'm sorry. And making money off of it, not so far, no. I can't see it, but I just say you need the exposure because the holidays are coming up. And I'm getting ready to shift gears. First day of school, we're going to push it to the back burner probably late September. And December celebrations will be October on out the rest of the year.
Yeah. All right. That's great. All right. So, Elena, since we're about to wrap up, do you have one of your famous last questions?
Mm-hmm. So do you do a lot of school outreach? Like, do you contact schools and get those teachers pimping those books to those students? Or do you do school visits? Like, how much of is that part of your strategy?
I haven't had the opportunity to do school visits yet because I'm teaching. And you can't take a sick day. If you take a sick day and they find out you're not teaching, you can get in trouble. So I will actually have to take a personal day, and you only get 3 personal days in a year. After that, if I start doing school outreach, I will have to take a personal day without pay. But I have to make sure that the school's going to pay me enough money to cover that day. So I haven't got into that yet. It's coming. I have a lot of book signings sign up. I made a schedule today for the next 4 months. I'm starting to schedule book signings and go to book festivals. So I'll be busy, very busy for the next 4 months.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
You're going to begin to do physical outreach to match all your fantastic online outreach that you're so kindly shared with us today. Well, just one last thing before we go, which is not a question, but you mentioned, you have to pay to put your book up on Ingram, and that's true unless you're an ally member. So plug for the Alliance of Independent Authors, because if you are a member, you do get free upload and free re-upload, because normally that's $25 to re-upload if you notice, all year long. So it's really worth paying that membership and getting that. So there you go. I just thought I'd let everybody out there know. And also, just in terms of, kindergarten, I just wanted to clarify that that is like right before year 1 in the US, isn't it? Right?
Yes, it is.
Right. So in Australia and maybe in the UK, which I should know this, but we don't call it kindergarten. So we call it prep. So there's just, if you're ever doing any outreach to Australia or the UK, because the difficulty with that, what I run into, the difficulty is the word kindergarten we still use the word kindergarten, but kindergarten is preschool. Does that make sense? So if your child's in kindergarten in Australia, they're aged 3 or 4. And so, like, often we'll buy books thinking that they're for kindergarten from America, and then we're like, oh no, this is actually for
like these are 5-year-olds. What's happening?
Right. So that's a real, like, it's so annoying because if we didn't have the word kindergarten at all, it wouldn't matter. But a lot of people are buying the. Anyways, I don't know what to do about that. I just thought I would let you know. Use the word prep if you're ever targeting us over here. And you might get more sales. You know, that first day of school is actually prep, which is a stupid word anyway. I think it's preparatory. That's the word. We call it prep.
I'll put that in my keywords.
Yeah, put it in your keywords, yeah, when you're ever doing a target to Australia. It's been an absolute joy. You've taught us so much, like just huge amounts. Your energy, your enthusiasm, you know, for me, like, you know, your team, it's really clear that you're the leader of that team and that you steer that boat and, you know, you do that so wonderfully, which I think's led to your success. So thank you so much for sharing that with us today. And, yeah, I wish you every success. We can't wait to see what the 3rd book is. And
I think I have a strong enough clue. I've got a good guess on what that 3rd book is about. Terance, will you tell us where everybody can find you online?
First place I would say would go to my website as www.teranceshipman.com. That's TERANCESHIPMAN. That's one word. You can find me, the illustrator, merchandise, as my students will say, merch. You can, and we have a fantastic blog page that several educators have written on. It's awesome. You can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. That's it. I'm all those are the major places.
All right, that's really great. And since I always mess it up, Elena, will you tell everybody where they can find us online?
Always wonderful links to Terance will be in our show notes at www.indiekidlitpodcast.com. And thank you again so much, Terance.
Thank you. I really appreciate this. Thank you, both ladies.